Okay, so for those who may or may not remember, back in 2011, we had the Friends with Benefits, No Strings Attached situation. What that situation was basically two of the exact same movies came out months apart, and one movie ended up showing the other one how you completely just did it wrong, and we can do it so much better than you. No Strings Attached was the one that did it wrong. Friends with Benefits was the one that did it so much better. And now, here in 2024, we have the exact same scenario where not even months apart. 3 weeks ago, Immaculate with Sydney Sweeney came out, and it is the exact same movie as The First Omen. And The First Omen just came out, and this movie showed Immaculate that you did not know how to do that story at all, because The First Omen is the Friends of Benefits of horror, or Friends with Benefits of horror. It just does it so much better. And this is my review. Hey guys, it's your guy in the chair here, and look, this is my review of The First Omen, starring Nell Tiger Free, Bill Nye, his name is Ralph Ensign, I believe, and Sonia Braga, and it was directed by, let me make sure I get her name right, Arkasha Stevenson. And look, our story is basically a prequel to The Omen. It's not basically, it is a prequel to The Omen, where basically this young American girl comes to Italy, or I believe it's, Italy or Rome, and she is basically being a nun, doing her duties, trying to take her vows, and basically what happens is she finds out she is a part of a plan of these nuns that is a lot bigger than her, where they are trying to get them to birth the Antichrist so that they can put the fear back into the world, because the world is just in this state of rebellion where they are necessarily going against the church and going against religion, and so the nuns think it's a great idea for them to use a vessel to birth the Antichrist, to put the fear back into the world. That is the best way I'm going to describe that plot, and honestly, that's a pretty cool fucking plot, if I'm being completely honest with you. That's pretty damn cool as for reasoning as to why you would want to bring the Antichrist into the world, to put the fear back into the world. But nuns just have very crazy ways of thinking, at least in these movies. And look, like I said, guys, this is basically a Friends with Benefits, No Strings Attached situation where Immaculate came out 3 weeks ago, and I was not the biggest fan of Immaculate. I thought that movie was boring as hell. Although people are saying it's Sydney Sweeney's best performance, that's not really saying much, because other than Euphoria, and the only thing people really talk about as far as Sydney Sweeney's performance in Euphoria is the part where she's spazzing on Nate Jacobs.
Maddie, because we're talking about how fucking crazy Maddie is, which you can't seem to fucking comprehend.
No, what you don't understand, Nate, is I am crazier.
Or the part where she's completely crying when Cassie finds out that she was sleeping with Nate. I can't necessarily say she was cheating with Nate, but I mean, you can call it what you want. Basically, she found out that she was moving in on Nate after they had broken up and they were supposed to be best friends, yada yada. Those are the only two scenes that anybody talks about how amazing Sydney Sweeney was. Now they're trying to make her the next big thing. Look, Madam Web, there's a lot of things wrong with that movie. Sydney Sweeney's probably very low on that list because there are so many other things wrong with that movie, but Anyone But You was not very good. And like I said, for me, Immaculate was very boring. And you could say that's her best performance, but that's not really saying much. But look, here we have The First Omen just doing everything that Immaculate wanted to do, except they did it so much more successfully. Let's start with the opening sequence. The opening scene alone of The First Omen was better than anything I saw in Immaculate. And this isn't necessarily me just wanting to find a reason to bash Immaculate and just shit on that movie and shit on Sydney Sweeney, because look, I'm waiting on Sydney Sweeney. Like, Sydney Sweeney in Immaculate did show potential. I will admit that. She showed potential that she is able to have some acting chops. I just think she needs to do a better job at picking projects, although that was a project she wanted to fund herself. We have to find better people to make those projects for us, or for her. But I'm not necessarily just using this as a reason to shit on Immaculate, but like the entire time I'm watching The First Omen, I couldn't help but compare the two movies because they're the exact same. It's like I said, the No Strings Attached, Friends with Benefits situation. You don't necessarily want to sit there and compare Ashton Kutcher and Natalie Portman to Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis, but Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis were so much cooler and had so much better chemistry, we had no choice but to say they did so much better than Ashton Kutcher and Natalie Portman. But look, like I said, the opening sequence in this movie is better than anything I saw in Immaculate, and it starts with Ralph Ensign. Ralph Ensign's character as the father, who's excommunicado, which is really cool. the way he just says stuff, the way his voice just makes every single scenario the most intense shit you've ever heard in your life. It just gets you locked into this premise. It gets you locked into what the hell's going on. And you even have the guy, he's from Game of Thrones. He was to the Lannisters' dad. He was Cersei's and them dad. And he did a phenomenal job as well. That opening sequence was great, but the person that completely steals the show, and it's her show to absolutely steal from the beginning to end, is Nell Tiger-Free. Nell Tiger-Free is an incredible actress who I am glad she's in a movie like this. That way she can probably get more status, or she can be more known after this film, because I don't think a lot of people watched Apple TV's Servant. If you haven't, the most I could recommend that you watch is the first 2 seasons, because once you get to season 3, M. Night Shyamalan starts to do his typical M. Night Shyamalan shit, and it just becomes something completely different from what season 1 and 2 were. But season 1 and 2 were actually very good. It had a great premise. It actually had a good story. Great performances from Lauren Ambrose, Toby Kebbell, I can't remember Ron's name, Rupert Grint. Great performances from them, but Nell Tiger-Free was phenomenal in Servant, and in this movie here, she is literally showing Sydney Sweeney how to be a vessel for the Antichrist. Like, this girl, I dare I say this girl was born to play roles like this. Just freaky ass roles where she is just completely creeping you the hell out from beginning to end. I absolutely adored her performance. She absolutely murdered this role. She did such a great job. Honestly, everybody in this movie did a really good job. And the thing that this movie does that is just so great is that they continuously find a way to surround the film with this creepy, eerie tone where you know something weird is going on, but they also have a way of just making you, like, a lot of scenes feel unsettling, even if it's just a conversation between 2 people, even if it's just a nun staring at someone in a crazy way. They make the movie feel very unsettling in so many different ways that I'm just sitting there like, yo, Immaculate, I don't know if First Omen should have came out first and Immaculate should have took notes, but like, this is literally a night and day version of these films, because the First Omen, honestly, and it's crazy because I didn't even like really plan to go see this movie. I just saw all the crazy reviews it was getting, and I was like, all right, well, let me check it out. And this movie actually ended up being a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I didn't necessarily know what to expect going in, but it truly, like, even if it is an Omen prequel, it doesn't even rely heavily on like the stuff that happened in the Omen. It truly tries to set its own story, and then the end kind of builds it into the Omen world. But the movie that's going on itself, it tries to stand out on its own. It's very creepy. It's very eerie. The performances are very good. Bill Nye was amazing. He was a very good priest. And all the nuns are creepy as hell. And I'm telling you, it's the exact same movie, because even in Immaculate, there's this character who became jealous that Sydney Sweeney was the vessel, and there's this character in this movie here who isn't necessarily jealous, but she just decides to use herself as an example to the cause that the nuns are doing, we'll just put it that way, and she sacrifices herself, and the girl in Immaculate did the same thing, and everyone in this film is literally like mirrored versions of each other, and everybody in the First Omen is a lot better. The First Omen was just a movie that did it so much better than Immaculate. That's literally the only thing I can walk away from this movie saying. Now, does this movie have its flaws? Sure. But for me, it was a pretty damn entertaining film. The creepy ass nun music, and by nun music I mean the stuff that goes like, I mean, the shit like that, very unsettling. Stuff like that just creeps me the hell out. But they just did a great job. Nell Tiger-Free, I really hope she starts to get more roles after this movie, or at least she gets more status and gets more love, because she is a tremendous actress that I truly believe can be a horror icon for years to come. Look, overall, The First Omen is a great prequel. It is a great time at the movies, and it is one that I feel like truly may be one of the most underrated horror movies of the year. And if you are a horror fan, please check this movie out. And for all those reasons and so many more, guys, I'm going to give The First Omen a 3.25 out of 5 stars. Okay, guys, so The First Omen, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Look, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff and so much more. Like, this is your guy in the chair. More content coming to you soon.